Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum video podcast. This podcast features issues of interest to the residents of the Mid-Ohio Valley area. The coronavirus pandemic has changed civic life greatly throughout our country.
This is an election year, and one of the things that's changed is that candidates can't go out and campaign for office the way they normally would. Generally, this time of year, they'd be knocking on doors, going to parades, fairs, festivals, meeting and greeting the voters, and shaking hands. They can't do that now.
So many of our initial podcasts will feature interviews with candidates for local and state offices. We focused on those who appear on the primary ballot. So if you're a candidate and you're interested in being interviewed prior to the general election, you can reach us through our Facebook page, that's the MOV Public Forum, or via email, movpublicforum@gmail.com.
Today we'll be interviewing Luke Winters. Luke is a candidate for the House of Delegates, District 10. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Luke. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you guys for having me.
With that, let's dive right in. Give us your best 1 minute-ish intro pitch speech.
All right. So my name's Luke Winters. I'm running for House of Delegates in West Virginia's 10th district. So that's Wood County. It includes Vienna, Parkersburg, North and South Side, Mineral Wells, and it's kind of a gerrymandered district. But I was born and raised here. I went to PHS, then WVU. My family's lived here their entire lives. And I just want to do what's best for this community and give myself and people my age a reason to stay here when they're older.
So, Luke, all the candidates are different. What kind of background do you have, knowledge, skills, perspectives that you think sets you apart from the other candidates and maybe gives you an edge?
Good question. So my skills, I have a very wide range of background in like customer service. So communicating with people is a very strong suit of mine, whether that be interpersonal communication face-to-face or over the telephone. Very good problem-solving skills. I really like to learn why things are the way they are and how we can improve them. And then like research, I really like to find out the data behind everything, why things are the way they are. And like I said before, just how we can improve them. My education, so I graduated from PHS in 2011. And then from WVU in 2015, I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in sport management, then minors in business administration, communication studies, and personal training. I'm also a certified chemical dependency counselor assistant, which ties into my experience. So a lot of what I said was customer service based, interacting with people in like a retail setting. And then also I have experience with insurance sales, so Medicare, so I can discuss with older individuals how best to go about picking their Medicare plans and what insurance policies are best for them. And then also I worked at the Oriana House over in Marietta, where it's a substance use treatment facility, a residential house where the clients stay, and we try to deal with their substance use issues, any mental health problems like that. So that's where my experience, skills, and education lie.
Well, it sounds like that may play into the next question. What's your main motivation that made you decide that 2020 was the year to step up and run for office?
It's kind of hard to pick one thing and really know when the right time is to do something. So I'll preface this by saying I've always been interested in politics. It started in high school and then just grew in college. I volunteered for Bernie's campaign. And there was also an organization at WU called Morgantown for Bernie, which I attended their meetings. We phone banked for him, we canvassed for him, and I ran a Twitter page for him for a while. So having said that, my interest continued to grow. And then I ran into Stephen Smith's campaign, and his message really just resonated with me. And I thought, what better a time than to get into politics right now? So I just kind of dove in. But the real motivation for me personally was that I've always wanted to stay here in West Virginia, just to be close to my family. But I feel like it's becoming harder and harder to do that as I get older, because the opportunities aren't here, the wages aren't here. We're just last in a lot of things. And if that doesn't get improved, then I think we're going to continue to see the younger generation leave this state. And that's not what I want to happen for West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. So Luke, what do you think is your wow factor? What is the thing about you that might make a voter say, wow, I'm going to vote for that guy?
Now, I think everybody has their different reasons why they vote for people. A lot of people are single issue voters, but a lot of people also, they want to see how you are across a wide range of topics. Now, for me personally, I know I've been fed up with our politicians for a very long time. They lie, they look out for their own interests and not the interest of their constituents. They receive tons of money from these different super PACs that basically subverts the will of the people's voice, where I just don't think money should be more important than our votes. But for me, I don't see myself as just like a Democrat, which I'm running on a Democratic ticket, but I see myself as an independent, where I want ideas from both sides. I want to talk to everybody. And I think when we get stuck in this rut of you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, then all the lines of communication just break down, because we've been so taught where if this person who's prominent is a Democrat and they say something and you're a Republican, you're not going to like it. And if they're a Republican and you're a Democrat, you're not going to like it. We have to get away from that and just try to listen to each other and talk and find common solutions to problems.
If you're elected, what's the one thing you really want to accomplish during your term in office?
So the main interest of mine over the past year or so was working with people with issues regarding substance use disorder and mental health. When I first got into that field, I can't lie, the intentions were pretty selfish. I saw the job position. I'm like, I don't know much about substance use, but I am interested in politics. So I saw it as an opportunity to just kind of broaden my knowledge in that area, which would also give me a better background in politics in the future. So having said that, I really want to reduce the stigma around substance use disorder. Right now, they're treated like criminals, the lowest among society, which I just don't understand. They're people just like you and me. I interact with them all the time. They're great people. They're very intelligent people. It's just most of them have some serious trauma in their life, which is very hard to deal with. And we need to be lifting them up with job creation programs, housing, and not incarcerating them in jail. So we have to get away from locking up people who have substance use disorder problems and instead lift them up.
So, Luke, state legislatures can be incubators for new ideas and new policies and new novel solutions that haven't been tried before. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis once said, quote, "A single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory and try novel social and economic experiments without risk to the rest of the country," end quote. Are there any novel experiments you would like to try if you're elected, other than anything you might have already mentioned?
So there's two. I'll just go over them briefly. So in regards to substance use disorder, we have a vast opioid epidemic here in West Virginia and the entire country. Um, so there have been, and like I said previously, the way we're going about it right now with incarceration and negative stigma is only exacerbating the problem. It's not making it any better. So there are other countries around the world, such as Switzerland and Portugal, that have actually solved their opioid crises. And I would like to model a program in West Virginia around those different policies. We could take aspects from both. There's programs of job creation, housing assistance. It sounds very strange, but legalization of some substances, which decreases overdoses and prostitution, and it also decreases the amount of money that taxpayers are spending on legal problems and locking these people up. So it can be addressed in many different ways versus what we're doing now. And then another would be, I'd like to institute a program for our corrections officers, our police officers, and our students. So I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's a self-defense martial art. And there could be lots of benefits to this program if there was access to it by our police officers and students. So it could reduce bullying in our schools. It increases your confidence. You're much more likely to stand up for yourself, and you know how to defend yourself if the situation arises. It would decrease police officer injuries because they wouldn't know how to properly defend themselves in an altercation if they're trying to arrest somebody in the streets. Since they know proper technique, they don't have to use excessive force. So there will be less excessive force cases in court, less injuries for the suspects. So it's just better all around for everybody.
So what do you see as the 3 largest problems facing West Virginia that we haven't talked about already? And give us your nutshell plan for dealing with them.
So there are a lot of problems that are facing West Virginia right now. The main one that I see as kind of like the root is that people are leaving West Virginia in droves. So especially the younger generation. So we need to incentivize people to stay here, whether that is through better jobs, increased wages, more attractions such as cannabis legalization. I think that West Virginia we're at a very important time right now where we could miss an opportunity to make a lot of money for our state. We're seeing other states across the country legalize cannabis, and it's having a dramatic effect on many different programs in their state, such as education, their infrastructure, which is things we need to both fix here in West Virginia. So first, we need to keep our people here. Second, we do have to address our education. So we need to pay our teachers more. We need to decrease class sizes so the students get more individualized attention. I think that's something that the younger people see more nowadays because we just recently came out of the education system. So we're better adapt to speak on the quality of our education that we have recently received. We need to make sure we're focused more on learning and less on testing. And then we also need to focus on, like I said, the opioid crisis. And there's many different ways we could address that and fix it, but I would like to see models like Switzerland and Portugal's implemented here.
So, Luke, people are often their own harshest critics. So I've got a 2-part question for you. What do you think is your worst quality? And what do you think is your best quality?
Well, that's a tough question. I'd say my worst quality, just because I feel like I do it every single day, is that I hit the snooze button way too much. I have a really hard time getting motivated in the morning. So it's snooze after snooze after snooze. which I know is just not good for you, but I can't stop. And then I'd say my not my biggest weakness, but my greatest strength would probably be like a research. I'm very analytical. So I like diving into things, trying to read over the numbers, figuring out why things are the way they are, and how we can change them and improve them to make them better.
Well, with that, we'd like to get to know Luke, the person. So the next set of questions we want you to answer as Luke, not candidate Luke.
Okay.
I
try to answer all questions that way.
Well, that's good. What's your single most favorite thing or place in our state? Not the people. They're not a thing or a place. We all love West Virginians. But.
Yes, we do. I think my favorite place in West Virginia is probably Spruce Knob. I went there a couple of years ago with my family, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. We might have even went up to the very, very tippy top past the sign that says, like, do not pass at your own, not like there's a warning sign. So at your own, I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Your own risk.
Own risk, exactly. Yeah.
So Luke, what are your personal core values?
That is a very tough question. And I had to really kind of write it down because I was like, man, I'm not exactly sure what my core values are. So what I came up with was being open-minded. I think it's really important to, like I said previously, listen and talk to people. And you can't do that without putting your previous judgments aside and preconceived notions and actually listening to what they have to say. Honesty. So same thing. Being honest with people and telling them what you really think, what your opinions are, and then also what you really think about their opinions, what they're saying to you. So like an open communication, and then also respect. There's not going to be that good flow of communication if there's insults being thrown around. So we have to be respectful to each other.
What would you say that you, the individual, are most passionate about?
I'd say, politics is definitely up there. I have a definite passion for politics. I'd say it'd be probably jujitsu. I've been doing it for over 3 years now, and it's just changed my life in so many different ways. It's opened me up thinking-wise, broadened my horizons. So I look and approach situations through a different lens now. So analytically, it's a very big part of jiu-jitsu too. And I think that has kind of transformed the way I look at problems and try to find solutions.
So you may have already answered this by talking about doing jiu-jitsu, but what do you like to do in your off time?
That is definitely one of them. Right now, that hasn't been happening too often because there's lots of close contact. But our gym actually has opened back up. They're having lots of safety precautions in place. I haven't had a chance to go back personally yet, but I'm very happy with the safety precautions they're taking for all their students. So jiu-jitsu, I really enjoy watching Netflix and then hanging out with my fiance and playing with our dog. So those are probably my three main things.
So what would you say is most unique about you?
Most
What
unique
surprises people when they find it out?
So I'll just go like a really personal one here because I'm really not sure what else is unique about me. So I have oculocutaneous albinism. It's a condition where your skin lacks pigmentation, your eyes lack pigmentation, your hair lacks pigmentation, and then also it comes with nystagmus, which is kind of like the shaking of the eyes back and forth. So I've had this since birth. When I was little, the doctors around here told me and my parents that I would never play sports. I wouldn't have a regular life. I wouldn't drive. And that was pretty scary for my parents. I was obviously too young to understand what was going on. But they took me to a different doctor and got a second opinion, and they said, no, that's ridiculous. He's going to be fine. But that would still, I would think, be very concerning to them. But people are always curious as to like why my skin is so pale or why are my eyes moving. When I was younger, these were things that really, really bothered me a lot, like bullying wise, but now it's not an issue. So now I just kind of let it brush off my shoulders. But people are normally curious as to my skin color and why my eyes move back and forth.
That is interesting, and I'm glad that the doctors were wrong originally.
Me too.
Well, with that, we've come to the end. We'd like to give you a few minutes to tell us and the voters anything you think we've missed or that you think we need to know about you and your candidacy, how to get in touch with you, how to get involved, where to find more information, donate, etc.
Okay. So first, thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate that. I think being able to talk to all the constituents is very, very important. Transparency is definitely key. So I think things like this should honestly be required for politicians. It should be their job to get their message out to the people. The people shouldn't have to go looking and browbeating us for it. We should be giving that information away. But so you can find me on Facebook, Luke Winters, West Virginia for House of Delegates, District 10. I have Act Blue. It's also on the Facebook page. How else can you reach me? My email, lukewinters83@gmail.com. If people really need to get a hold of me, they can text me or call me, 304-834-9054. And just kind of iterate a few things I've already went over that I feel are really important to me personally. So I'm gotten really, really tired of how we're being divided into two different political parties, Democrats and Republicans. I just don't see it that way at all. I would not lose a minute of sleep over if these political parties just vanished overnight and there were no more political parties whatsoever. I think they kind of breed distrust more than anything else. And it'd be a lot better for our political process and the people if we could see eye to eye on things instead of just seeing the R or the D beside somebody's name. So my campaign is really, really about listening and talking to the people and trying to decide what solution works best for everybody and really helping everybody realize that there's so much middle ground and we are so much more alike than everybody really seems to think we are, because you're constantly hearing just the polarizing sides of the story. But really on the media or from our politicians, you're only hearing their opinions and not the opinions of the majority. So I really like to kind of bring everybody together in just a more honest and transparent political process.
Well, Luke, thank you for sharing your views with us and for your interest in serving the people of West Virginia. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this afternoon. Everyone, everyone remember, wash your hands.